We had to fit something fun into this show. And what did we have? We have a story here about Taylor Swift. No, this is not going to be about the Swiftie Super Bowl, although I'm sure that we'll have a lot of commentary to save on that front for the future. This is about a craze which has swept the media, elevated all the way to the White House, and is a genuinely divisive issue where I'm not even sure where either Krystal or I stand, so it's going to be fun to discuss it. There have been AI deepfake nude images of Taylor Swift and many other celebrities that have been circulating online. Now, it's not necessarily something new. It's something that's actually existed for a long time. And yet, there has somehow now been a Streisand effect such that some of the most senior leaders, both in AI and in the nation, are now being asked about this as if it's some sort of national security issue. Bubbled to the surface whenever Lester Holt of NBC News sat down with the Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella to ask him specifically what he was going to do about this and what guardrails are in place for AI such that such so-called deepfake nude images and others do not circulate as we get closer to some even more advanced AI technology. Here's what they had to say.
The internet is exploding with fake, and I emphasize fake, sexually explicit images of Taylor Swift. What does that tell you about this technology and whether we could ever get the toothpaste back in the tube?
I would say two things. One is, again, I go back to, I think, what's our responsibility, which is all of the guardrails that we need to place around the technology so that there's more safe content that's being produced, and there's a lot to be done there and a lot being done there. And we can do, especially when you have law and law enforcement and tech platforms that can come together. I think we can govern a lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
Does it set alarm bell off in terms of what can be done? You're Microsoft. You've got a high social, corporate responsibility. There are other players in this game who may not have that same benefit.
I think, first of all, absolutely, this is alarming and terrible. And so therefore, yes, we have to act.
So, Krystal, I'm curious what you think, because this has become now a national issue, such that even the White House is being asked about this, okay? Let's put this up there on the screen. They were specifically asked, they said, they're asked, what are you going to do about it? Should Congress take legislative action to address fake abusive images online? We are alarmed by the circulation of the false images, Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters. So I have to try and separate this, where I think it's terrible that it happens to anybody. And yet, for some reason, it becomes a national issue. Legislatively, it seems like it should probably be dealt with, like with deepfakes, but also there seems to be some sort of weird Streisand effect going on here, where I didn't even know that these existed until I start seeing the NBC News Lester Holt interview, then the White House getting asked about this, now Congress having deliberative action, and then we'll get to what Twitter has done in their response. But anyway, your reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have to say, I feel a little bit complicated about it. I guess in terms of Taylor Swift, I actually have the least sympathy for her because I sort of feel like, not that I think this is great. I don't think it's good at all. I think it's bad. I think it's invasive. I can understand how she feels about it. But I do sort of feel like when you're a famous person, you kind of expect you're going to get some kind of shit like this.
Right.
And, you get all the benefits of fame and fortune and, the eyeballs on you and success and stardom and all that stuff, which is really nice and which many people would love to have. And it does come with some downsides. And again, I'm not like normalizing or saying that that's fine, but I feel more, I feel more like she can deal with it when it's Taylor Swift and she's got a legal team and they're going to go after whoever created this and whatever. The bigger questions for me are actually around quote unquote normal people who aren't famous, because it's not like the generation of these images is going to be solely confined to Taylor Swift or other, stars and icons. What if it's an underage girl that these fake AI nudes are being created of? I was a little busy last week dealing with my child's health issue, which, by the way, she's doing much better. Thank you for all the well wishes. So I didn't actually look up the photos, but I am told they are very clearly fake.
Yes.
But I think that's another piece of this is, it seems to me, not only with this, but with other deep fakes, it's really, really important that we have a way of knowing what's real and what's not real. both because of these instances where there's, deep like invasion of privacy and sort of intended humiliation, but also instances where there's an intent to deceive in some sort of significant way. It could be with regard to news that's occurring or what's going on, et cetera. And we've seen a bunch of those as well. So I wouldn't say that, this is just like, oh, who cares, is Taylor Swift, like wave your hand. I do think it raises some real issues that we've already been confronting about the AI era and how to regulate that and how to deal with that without stifling creativity, without going down the path of censorship, et cetera, without like shutting down innovation and without shutting down free speech. I think it raises and heightens some of those questions. But do I particularly see it as like a crisis because it happened to Taylor Swift? No.
That's kind of what I wanted to get to, is I'm getting really annoyed because everyone's acting as if this is the worst, crowd. By the way, I like Taylor Swift. I tried to get tickets to the Eras tour, just so everybody knows. I was sitting there with the waiting line and all of that. I'm a fan, okay? So like, let's be very clear. That said, I can recognize like a moral panic whenever I see one. And given what Twitter did, let's put this up there. By the way, thank you, Elon, for instituting this. Twitter, or X, blocked Taylor Swift searches after those fake AI videos were going viral. They literally did not allow you for a period of time to search the name Taylor Swift in the search bar so you could find this. This is particularly dumb because this happened at the exact same time as the Chiefs game yesterday, when many people, and probably teenage girls, were searching it because they wanted to see her kiss Travis Kelce or to hug, what's the lady's name? Mahomes, whatever. Okay, Brittany, I think that's it. Brittany Mahomes. He wanted to see their reaction in the box. Okay, so it's like you have now created, now people are gonna be like, hey, why can't I search Taylor Swift? And now, as you said too, the victim here, or potential actual victims that we should really be worried about, are teenagers. We've seen a rise in teenage boys in particular killing themselves through some sort of like ensnarement, entrapment things where people will entice them for nude images. We've covered it here on the show before. We've talked about teenage girls, normal women. That's actually the real victims, in many cases of some of these revenge porn are normal women, are people with jobs and others who are either facing being fired, like teachers, and others who are facing reputational damage. And they don't have the legal team, the police, resources, NBC News, and the CEO of Microsoft on their side. Most people just don't care about them at all. So anyway, I think that there was a major Streisand effect going on here. And there is also I'm just gonna say this again, as somebody who likes Taylor. I am so annoyed by the NFL and even the New York Times and others just blatantly putting her name in headlines to get engagement. So let me give you a perfect example. The front page of the New York Times political section right now is inside Biden's anti-Trump battle plan and where Taylor Swift fits in. Come on! I looked into it. Taylor is in the 10th graph. Graph, by the way, means paragraph in reporter speak. They barely have a throwaway mention. They're like, yeah, we would love to get her endorsement. And she's in that. It's like, stop. All right, like everyone is, and but there's a whole right-wing backlash as well. They're like, they're trying to turn Taylor into a Biden plant and all of this, which may be true now that this article has now come out. But my point is just like, the amount of engagement farming that's going on off this woman's name is driving me nuts. So this is a very long way of saying I'm rooting for the 49ers. I'm pro Brock Purdy. I'm sorry, we need a total and complete shutdown of this shit until we can figure out what the hell is going on.
I haven't dug in enough to really understand why there's been so much upset about like Taylor's affiliation with the Chiefs and why people are so like it became such a thing. I just haven't done enough research. I haven't cared enough to even understand what the energy is about. I don't watch football, but poor my friends who do. Here's what it is. They love the NFL. They love football. They're getting very annoyed because basically whenever there's a Chiefs game, every time Travis Kelce scores a touchdown or does something good, they just pan the box to Taylor Swift, and it's like the Taylor cam. And there has been a massive influx of people who are now watching and engaging with the NFL purely for Taylor Swift content and or memes. These are people who genuinely love the game. They would be watching anyways. I understand it to a certain extent. That said, if you're the NFL, who cares? You know, your NFL. It's good for them.
Yeah, well, but then there are some allegations, some people are saying, that the NFL is actively rooting and intervening to try and rig it so that the Chiefs would win the Super Bowl because they know. There's actually a new study that just came out yesterday that Taylor Swift has added $330 million in brand equity to the NFL and to ratings just in the time since she began dating Travis Kelce. That's how powerful the brand is. Kelce himself, I believe, is now one of the most followed people in the entire NFL on Instagram. It's tough too because most people don't even know. Most people don't even know, like, he's actually incredibly good at his position. He's like one of the all-time greats. Then him and his brother, monetizing this, and he's appearing in Pfizer commercials. So I do get why it's annoying. If you're in the NFL, I get why it's annoying. If you love the game and you just love the game for its sake.
See, the attention and getting new fans in or whatever, to me, that's only like, okay, you're expanding the love of the sport, whatever.
I'm with you.
When you get into, I definitely don't put it past them to basically have the reps throwing the games as much as they can for the Chiefs to keep the Taylor gravy train going. That's another matter. So I could see that point. But I also think, to me, part of this is Taylor Swift occupies this strange place in our political landscape because for a long time, and she came up, she was initially like this country music pop star. And for a long time, she was completely silent on politics, partly because she was extremely young, right? So she's just like, and in country music, especially, just like, let's just not talk about it. And then there was this whole fantasy on the right that maybe she was like secretly Republican, secretly like really conservative or even alt-right. Remember when there was some like alt-right message board that thought they'd named her cat or something like crazy like that? Because she has that kind of like, trad look, and she didn't wear super skimpy clothes. And so there was this whole invented fantasy that perhaps secretly she's a conservative. And then during one of the elections, she came out against one of the senators who was running in Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn. She came out for the Democrat, and it kind of was like her political coming out as just like the most basic resistance liberal that you could possibly imagine. And so I think the crushed hopes that had been placed on Taylor also add to the upset of her involvement in, any sort of cultural thing that some people on the right may be involved with. Because it seems like most of the anti-Taylor energy is coming from the right, if I'm not mistaken.
It is now because she did endorse Biden, and there's some photo of her holding like Biden cookies. I will say, if she does endorse Biden and she appears with him, she's going to fulfill these people's wildest dreams, because a lot of them have been saying, they're like, she's a Biden plant and all. I think I saw Vivek
that's not a secret. Like,
today.
Is just a basic Democrat. A basic, resistance liberal Democrat. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone.
Absolutely right. In fact, I think her genuine appeal is that she's like as normal as it gets. And I don't mean in terms of like fame or whatever. I mean in terms of her like tastes and others. She's one of the most classic millennials. She still uses Gandalf references, just so everyone is clear. In a more recent interview that she did with Time Magazine. So anyway, we've given you as much Taylor news as we said. As I much to the chagrin of our crew, one of whom is a diehard Chiefs fan. I'm going for the 49ers now. I can't handle the Taylor. I can't handle a Taylor media cycle from the Super Bowl. I just can't. And I'm pro Taylor.
Won't be able to shake it off.
I will not.
It's going to be some trouble for you, Saagar.
It'll be some of my wildest dreams.
Sorry.
If something like that.
There you go.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.